Billionaire husband smirked in court with his mistress until the judge pulled out DNA results asterisk. The mahogany doors of courtroom 7 swing shut behind me with a finality that echoes through my chest. My hands tremble slightly as I smooth my navy dress. The one Marcus used to say made my eyes look like sapphires. Now those same eyes scan the room, landing on him. There he sits, Marcus Blackwood, billionaire tech mogul, my husband of 8 years. His platinum blonde mistress, Vivian, clings to his arm like expensive jewelry. Her red lips curve in a smile that doesn't reach her calculating green eyes. She's everything I'm not: young, surgically perfect, uncomplicated. Marcus catches my gaze across the courtroom. That smirk, God, that infuriating smirk that once made my knees weak now makes my stomach churn. He leans back in his chair, fingers drumming against the polished table, radiating the confidence of a man who believes he holds all the cards. Mrs. Blackwood, I turn toward the voice. My attorney, James Crawford, stands beside me, tall, broad-shouldered, with kind gray eyes that have become my anchor these past months. His hand brushes mine as he pulls out my chair. Such a simple touch, yet it sends warmth racing up my arm. You don't have to do this, he murmurs, close enough that I catch the subtle scent of his cologne, cedar and something indefinably masculine. We can settle out of court. I shake my head, forcing steel into my spine. No, I want the truth to come out. His eyes search mine, and for a moment, the bustling courtroom fades away. There's something in his expression protective, admiring, and something deeper that makes my pulse quicken. We've spent countless late nights preparing for this moment, poring over documents in his office, the way he'd look up from his papers when he thought I wasn't watching, the electricity when our fingers accidentally touched reaching for the same file. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Winters. The courtroom erupts in a symphony of shuffling feet and rustling fabric. Judge Winters, a woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes, takes her seat behind the bench. Her gaze sweeps the room, lingering on Marcus and his mistress with barely concealed distaste. Be seated. We're here today for the divorce proceedings of Blackwood versus Blackwood. Marcus's attorney, a shark in an expensive suit, begins his opening statement. He paints me as a gold digger, a woman who married for money and is now trying to steal half of Marcus's empire. Each word is a dagger designed to humiliate and destroy. I feel James tense beside me. His jaw clenches, and I notice his hands curl into fists on the table. The protective fury radiating from him is both comforting and intoxicating. When did this brilliant, compassionate man become so important to me? When did his opinion start mattering more than anyone else's? Marcus takes the stand, his testimony a masterclass in manipulation. He speaks of my alleged affairs, my supposed drinking problem, my failure as a wife. Vivian nods sympathetically from the gallery, playing her part perfectly. Your Honor, Marcus concludes, his voice dripping with false sincerity. I simply want to move on with my life, with someone who truly loves me. He glances meaningfully at Vivian, who places a protective hand over her slightly rounded belly. The implication hangs in the air like poison. She's pregnant with his child, the family I could never give him. Judge Winters shuffles through her papers, her expression unreadable. Mr. Blackwood, before we proceed further, there's something the court needs to address. She reaches into her drawer and withdraws a sealed manila envelope. The courtroom falls silent, tension crackling like electricity before a storm. Marcus's smirk falters, just slightly. Your Honor, I'm not sure what DNA results, Judge Winters interrupts, holding up the envelope, specifically regarding paternity of the child Ms. Chen is carrying. The color drains from Marcus's face. Vivian's hand flies to her throat, her composure cracking like glass. But it's James's reaction that stops my breath. His hand finds mine under the table, squeezing gently. How did you? Marcus starts. The truth has a way of revealing itself, Mr. Blackwood. Judge Winters' smile is razor sharp. Shall we see what these results have to say? The envelope crinkles in Judge Winters' hands, the sound amplifying in the suddenly silent courtroom. I can hear my heartbeat, feel the warmth of James's fingers still intertwined with mine. Beneath the table, his thumb traces small circles on my palm, a gesture so intimate so protective that it takes my breath away. Marcus has gone rigid in his chair. The confident businessman who walked in here an hour ago has vanished, replaced by a man whose carefully constructed world is about to collapse. Vivian whispers something urgent in his ear, but he doesn't respond. His eyes are fixed on that envelope like it contains his death sentence. "Your Honor," Marcus's attorney interjects, desperation creeping into his voice. "My client was not informed that paternity would be an issue in these proceedings because your client assumed the child was his." Judge Winters replies coolly, an assumption that, as it turns out, was quite premature. I feel James shift beside me, his body angled protectively toward mine. In the months we've worked together, I've come to know every nuance of his expressions. The slight tightening around his eyes when he's concentrating, the way his lips curve when he finds a legal precedent that supports our case, the gentle way he looks at me when he thinks I'm not watching. The court ordered these DNA tests, Judge Winters continues, based on evidence submitted by Mrs. Blackwood's legal team. My breath catches. This wasn't in our plan. I turn to James, confusion and hope warring in my chest. His gray eyes meet mine, and I see something there that makes my pulse race, not just professional satisfaction, but something deeper, more personal. When I whisper, so quietly only he can hear, "The night you cried in my office," he murmurs back, his voice rough with emotion, "When you told me about seeing them together at the hospital, about the pregnancy announcement that felt too convenient, too perfectly timed. I remember that night, 3 weeks ago, after a particularly brutal deposition. I'd broken down completely, sobbing against James's shoulder as he held me. The way his arms circled me, strong and sure. How he'd stroked my hair and whispered that we'd find the truth, no matter what it took. I hired a private investigator," he continues, his lips barely moving. "Medical records, security footage from the fertility clinic Vivian visited. The timeline didn't match what Marcus claimed. The implications hit me like a physical blow. He did this for me. Went beyond his professional duty, beyond what I was paying him for. He fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself." Judge Winters breaks the seal on the envelope with deliberate precision. The sound seems to echo through the courtroom like a gunshot. Marcus flinches. Vivian has gone pale, her perfectly applied makeup unable to hide the fear in her eyes. The results indicate, Judge Winters begins, adjusting her reading glasses, that Mr. Marcus Blackwood is not the biological father of the child Miss Chen is carrying. The courtroom erupts. Reporters scribble frantically. Marcus's face cycles through shock, rage, and something that might be humiliation. Vivian bolts from her seat, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. But it's Marcus's expression that holds my attention, the complete destruction of his arrogance, the crumbling of his carefully crafted image. Furthermore, Judge Winters raises her voice above the chaos. DNA evidence indicates that Miss Chen was involved with at least 2 other men during the time period in question, including, she pauses dramatically, Mr. Richard Steinberg, your business partner, Mr. Blackwood. Marcus makes a sound like he's been physically struck. The man who walked into this courtroom expecting to humiliate me now sits broken, exposed, destroyed by his own assumptions and lies. James's hand tightens on mine. When I look at him, his eyes burn with something fierce and protective. "Are you okay?" he asks softly. But I'm not okay. I'm shaking, overwhelmed by vindication and something else, something that has nothing to do with my collapsing marriage, and everything to do with the man beside me. The man who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself, who fought for my truth when everyone else dismissed me as a scorned wife. "I need air," I whisper. Without hesitation, James rises. "Your Honor, might we request a brief recess?" "Granted." 30 minutes. He guides me through the crowd, his hand on the small of my back. In the hallway, away from the chaos, he turns to face me. We're alone in an alcove, hidden from the reporters and spectators. "You did this," I breathe, searching his face. "You saved me, Elena. Why?" The question comes out more vulnerable than I intended. Why go so far for me? His jaw works, and, for a moment, I think he won't answer. Then he steps closer, close enough that I can see the flecks of silver in his gray eyes, feel the warmth radiating from his body. "Because you deserved the truth," he says simply. Because you're stronger than you know. Because, he stops, shakes his head. Because what, James? The air between us crackles with electricity. His gaze drops to my lips, then back to my eyes. I can feel myself leaning toward him, drawn by something I've been fighting for months. Mrs. Blackwood. A court clerk appears around the corner. Judge Winters needs to see you. The spell breaks. James steps back, professional composure sliding into place like armor. But I saw what was in his eyes. I felt the tension, the what, the something more that neither of us can name yet. As we walk back toward the courtroom, Marcus's voice echoes. Down the hallway, he's on his phone, damage control mode activated. But it's too late. The truth is out, and there's no going back. James's fingers brush mine as we reach the courtroom doors. Everything is about to change. The courthouse bathroom is mercifully empty. I grip the marble countertop, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My face is flushed, my carefully applied makeup slightly smudged from the emotional upheaval of the morning. But my eyes are alive in a way they haven't been in years. The door opens behind me. James enters, checking over his shoulder before closing it softly. We shouldn't be here together, alone. It's improper, unprofessional. But right now, I can't bring myself to care about propriety. Elena, my name on his lips is a caress. Are you all right? I turn to face him, and the concern in his gray eyes nearly undoes me. This man has seen me at my most vulnerable, my most broken. He's held my hand through depositions that felt like psychological warfare, listened to me rage and cry and doubt myself. And through it all, he's been my rock, my advocate, I keep thinking I should feel vindicated. I whisper, triumphant, but mostly I just feel empty. He steps closer, close enough that I catch that intoxicating scent of cedar and masculinity that's become synonymous with safety in my mind. You gave 8 years of your life to a man who never deserved you. It's natural to feel grief alongside the relief, is it? I search his face, because what I'm feeling right now isn't grief. James, it's something else entirely. The air between us shifts, charges with an electricity that's been building for months. His pupils dilate, and I watch his professional composure begin to crack. Elena, we can't what? I take a step toward him, my heart hammering against my ribs. Can't acknowledge what's been happening between us. Can't admit that somewhere between the late nights and the shared coffee and the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching, something changed. His jaw clenches. You're vulnerable right now. You're going through a divorce. I'm your attorney. You're the man who saved me. The words come out fierce, desperate. Not just legally, James. You saved me from believing I was worthless, from accepting the lies Marcus told about who I am. He's close enough now that I can see the war playing out in his eyes, professional ethics battling against something deeper, more primal. When he speaks, his voice is rough with restraint. You don't know what you're saying, don't I? I reach up, my fingertips barely grazing his jaw. He freezes at the contact, his breath catching. James, I'm not some naive client with a crush. I'm a woman who recognizes that the man standing in front of me is everything my husband never was. Kind, honest, protective. And yes, I let my thumb trace across his lower lip. Incredibly attractive. He catches my wrist, but doesn't pull my hand away. Instead, his thumb presses against my pulse point, feeling the frantic beat of my heart. Your divorce isn't final, he says. But his voice lacks conviction now. My marriage ended years ago. We both know it. Marcus's betrayal just made it official. I step closer, until there's barely an inch between us. James, I need you to know what I feel for you has nothing to do with gratitude or rebound emotions. It has to do with the way you listen when I speak, the way you make me laugh during our strategy sessions, the way you make me feel like I'm worth fighting for. His control snaps. His free hand tangles in my hair, tilting my face up to his. For a heartbeat, we just stare at each other, teetering on the edge of a line that once crossed can never be uncrossed. This is insane. He breathes. I know. Completely unethical. I know. Elena, I silence him by rising on my tiptoes, pressing my lips to his in a kiss that's both tentative and desperate. He goes completely still for a moment, and panic flares in my chest. Have I misread everything? Have I destroyed the most important relationship in my life? Then he kisses me back. His mouth moves against mine with a hunger that steals my breath. 8 years of a cold marriage, of duty without passion, of feeling invisible and unwanted, it all melts away under the heat of his lips. This is what I've been missing, this fire, this connection, this feeling of being truly seen and desired. He backs me against the marble countertop, his body caging me in. But it doesn't feel confining, it feels safe, protected, cherished. His hands frame my face like I'm something precious, and when he deepens the kiss, I taste coffee and mint and something that's uniquely him. God, Elena. He murmurs against my lips. I've wanted this for so long. How long? I whisper back, my hands fisting in the lapels of his suit jacket. Since the first consultation. You walked into my office looking like you'd been through hell, but there was this strength in you. This fire that Marcus tried to extinguish but couldn't quite kill. I knew I was in trouble the moment you smiled. The confession sends heat spiraling through me. All those months I thought I was alone in this growing attraction. He was fighting the same battle. His lips trail from my mouth to my jaw, finding that sensitive spot just below my ear that makes me gasp. I told myself it was just professional admiration. He continues, his breath warm against my skin, that I was just a good lawyer doing his job. But every time you cried in my office, every time Marcus's lawyers tried to tear you down in depositions, every time you looked at me with those beautiful, trusting eyes, the bathroom door rattles. Mrs. Blackwood, the judge is ready to reconvene. We spring apart like guilty teenagers. James runs a hand through his dark hair, trying to restore some semblance of professional appearance. My lips feel swollen, my skin flushed. Anyone looking at us will know exactly what just happened. 2 minutes, I call out, my voice surprisingly steady. James adjusts his tie, but his eyes never leave mine. Elena, we need to talk about this, about what it means later. I promise, reaching up to smooth down his rumpled hair. The simple touch sends electricity racing between us. After the divorce is final, after we can figure out what this is without the complications of attorney-client privilege, he catches my hand, pressing it flat against his chest. I can feel his heart racing under my palm. I'm not going anywhere, he says quietly. Whatever happens in that courtroom, whatever comes next, I'm not going anywhere. The promise settles into my chest, warm and sure, as we prepare to face the chaos waiting for us. I realize that for the first time in years, I'm not walking into battle alone. Marcus may have tried to destroy me, but James Crawford has shown me something infinitely more powerful than revenge. He's shown me that I'm worthy of love. 6 months later, I stand in the kitchen of my grandmother's Newport cottage, watching James attempt to flip pancakes with questionable success. Sunlight streams through the lace curtains, painting golden rectangles across the hardwood floors that I spent weeks refinishing myself. This house, which had sat empty during my marriage because Marcus found it quaint and impractical, has become my sanctuary. You're burning them, I observe, trying to hide my smile as smoke begins to curl from the pan. I'm creating rustic charm, he counters, but there's laughter in his voice. He's traded his courtroom armor for jeans and a navy sweater that brings out the silver in his eyes. His hair is tousled from sleep, and there's a 5 o'clock shadow that makes him look younger, less formal, more mine. Here, let me. Absolutely not. He points the spatula at me with mock seriousness. You cooked dinner last night. Today, you're being pampered with burned pancakes. With love and burned pancakes. The word love still has the power to stop my breath. We've been together officially for months now, since the day my divorce was finalized. And James had ethical clearance to pursue the attraction that had been simmering between us for so long, for months of discovering what it feels like to be cherished instead of tolerated, to be seen as a partner instead of a possession. I moved behind him, sliding my arms around his waist and pressing my cheek against his back. He's solid and warm and smells like the expensive coffee I'd introduced him to, and the sea breeze that constantly flows through the cottage windows. James, his free hand covers mine where they rest against his chest. Do you ever regret it, taking on such a messy case, getting involved with a client? He turns in my arms, setting the spatula aside to frame my face with his hands. His thumbs trace my cheekbones, a gesture that never fails to make me melt. Elena Martinez. He says, using my maiden name with deliberate care, you were never just a case to me. From that first day when you walked into my office looking like you'd been through hell, but still had fire in your eyes, you were never just a client. Even when I cried all over your expensive suits, especially then. He leans down, pressing a soft kiss to my lips. You want to know what I regret? What? Waiting so long to tell you how I felt. All those months of pretending it was just professional interest, when I was already half in love with you. Heat unfurls in my chest, even after for months. Hearing him say he loves me feels like discovering something magical and impossible. Only half, I tease, rising on my tiptoes to nip at his lower lip. His arms tighten around me, pulling me flush against him. Well, that was before I saw you in that blue dress at the charity gala. Before I watched you charm the city's most notorious curmudgeon into donating $50,000 to the women's shelter. Before I came home to find you singing off-key in the shower and realized I wanted to hear that terrible singing every morning for the rest of my life. My singing is not terrible. He silences me with a kiss that tastes like coffee and promises, and the future we're building together when we break apart. Both breathing hard, his forehead rests against mine. Marry me, he says quietly. The words hit me like electricity. We've talked about the future, about moving in together officially, about the foundation I want to start for women going through difficult divorces. But marriage we've been careful not to push too hard, too fast. James, I know it's too soon. I know you need time to heal from everything Marcus put you through. But Elena, I wake up every morning grateful that you chose to trust me with your heart. I want to spend the rest of my life earning that trust, protecting that heart, celebrating the incredible woman you are. My eyes fill with tears, happy tears, overwhelmed tears. A year ago, I was invisible, worthless, convinced I'd never be enough for anyone. Now this brilliant, kind, passionate man is asking me to be his wife. The pancakes are burning, I whisper. He laughs, reaching behind him to turn off the burner without breaking eye contact. Let them burn. Answer my question. I study his face, the face that's become more precious to me than anything I owned. During my marriage to a billionaire, the strong jaw I love to trace with my fingertips, the gray eyes that see straight into my soul, the mouth that knows exactly how to kiss away my insecurities and fears. Yes, I breathe. Yes, James Crawford. I will marry you. His smile could power the entire eastern seaboard. He lifts me off my feet, spinning me around the kitchen while I laugh and cling to his shoulders. When he sets me down, his hands are shaking slightly as he reaches into his pocket. I was planning something more romantic, he admits, pulling out a small velvet box. Sunset on the beach, violins, the works. I don't need violins, I tell him, watching as he opens the box to reveal a simple, elegant solitaire that catches the morning light. I just need you. He slides the ring onto my finger with reverent care. It fits perfectly. Like everything else about us, unexpected, unplanned, but absolutely right. I love you, I whisper. The words still new enough to taste like miracles on my tongue. I love you too. He kisses me again, deeper this time, full of promise and passion, and the kind of forever I thought only existed in fairy tales. And Elena, yes, his smile turns wicked, playful. This time, we're having the prenup drawn up by someone else. I burst into laughter, the sound echoing through the cottage. That will soon become our home. Outside, the ocean crashes against the rocks, eternal and constant. Inside, we hold each other close. To people who found love in the midst of betrayal, truth in the middle of lies, hope after heartbreak. As James carries me toward the bedroom, the burned pancakes forgotten on the stove, I realize that Marcus was right about one thing. I did deserve better. And finally, beautifully, I found it. The courtroom buzzes with renewed energy. When we return, Marcus sits hunched over the defense table, his expensive suit unable to hide the defeat in his shoulders. His attorney whispers urgently in his ear, but Marcus stares straight ahead, looking like a man watching his empire burn. Vivian is nowhere to be seen. Judge Winters calls the court to order, her sharp gaze taking in the transformed dynamics. Mr. Blackwood, in light of the DNA evidence, Would you like to revise your testimony regarding the reasons for seeking this divorce? Marcus's attorney starts to rise, but Marcus places a hand on his arm. When he speaks, his voice is hollow, stripped of its earlier arrogance. Your Honor, I would like to request a brief recess to consult with my legal team. Denied. You had 30 minutes to consult. The court is interested in hearing your response to the evidence presented. I feel James tense, beside me, ready to object if Marcus tries to spin this somehow. But there's something in Marcus's posture that suggests the fight has gone out of him entirely. I was mistaken, Marcus finally admits, about the paternity, about several things. Judge Winters leans forward. Several things, Mr. Blackwood? The courtroom holds its collective breath. Marcus's hands shake as he grips the witness stand. When he looks up, his eyes find mine across the room. For just a moment, I see a flash of the man I married, vulnerable, uncertain human. But it's too little, too late. I accused my wife of infidelity, he says quietly, of drinking, of being unstable. But the truth is, I was projecting my own failures onto her. Elena never cheated, never had a drinking problem, never gave me any reason to doubt her loyalty. The admission hangs in the air like smoke. James's hand finds mine under the table, his thumb tracing patterns on my palm that somehow keep me grounded in this surreal moment. Then why did you make these accusations, Mr. Blackwood? Judge Winters asks. Marcus's laugh is bitter, broken. Because it was easier than admitting I was the problem. Easier than facing the fact that I destroyed the best thing in my life for a woman who was playing me from the beginning. My throat tightens. 8 years of marriage. And this is the first time I'm hearing genuine emotion from him. The first time he's acknowledged that I mattered at all. Furthermore, Judge Winters continues, pulling out another document. The court has received additional evidence regarding your business practices. Mr. Blackwood, it seems Ms. Chen wasn't the only secret you were keeping. Marcus goes pale. Your Honor, I don't know what financial records indicating that you've been siphoning money from joint accounts into private investments, specifically investments that Ms. Chen has been privy to through her relationship with your business partner. The pieces click into place with devastating clarity. Vivian wasn't just Marcus's mistress, she was his partner's accomplice in what looks like an elaborate scheme to defraud him. The woman he left me for was playing a much longer game than any of us realized. James leans close, his breath warm against my ear. They've been planning this for months, maybe years. She got pregnant by his business partner, convinced Marcus it was his child, and used the emotional manipulation to get access to his finances. The betrayal is so complete, so perfectly orchestrated, that I almost feel sorry for Marcus. Almost. Your Honor, James rises smoothly in light of these revelations. Mrs. Blackwood would like to amend her divorce settlement requests. Judge Winters nods. Proceed. Counselor, Mrs. Blackwood seeks full dissolution of the marriage with no alimony required from either party. She wishes to retain her premarital assets, which include the Newport property inherited from her grandmother, and she requests a restraining order preventing Mr. Blackwood from contacting her directly. I blink in surprise. We'd planned to fight for half of Marcus's assets, what I was legally entitled to after 8 years of marriage. But James is offering to walk away with nothing more than what I brought to the marriage. It's generous to the point of being foolish, unless, additionally, James continues, his voice carrying a note of steel, Mrs. Blackwood reserves the right to pursue criminal charges should the investigation into Mr. Blackwood's financial improprieties reveal any misuse of her trust fund or inheritance. There it is, the brilliant legal mind that I've come to rely on, offering Marcus a way out while still holding the threat of criminal prosecution over his head. It's clean, elegant, and utterly devastating. Marcus stares at me across the courtroom. For a moment, our eyes lock, and I see something that might be gratitude mixed with his defeat. Agreed, he says quietly. All terms agreed. Judge Winters bangs her gavel. Very well, divorce granted. Mr. Blackwood, you're hereby ordered to have no contact with the former Mrs. Elena Blackwood. This court is adjourned. The gavel's echo seems to reverberate through my entire body. It's over. 8 years of marriage, months of legal proceedings, a lifetime of feeling small and worthless. All of it ends with the simple strike of wood against wood. People begin filing out, reporters rushing to catch Marcus for a statement he'll never give. But I remain seated, overwhelmed by the finality of it all. Elena. James's voice is soft, concerned. How do you feel? I turned to look at him, this man who fought for me, believed in me, made me remember who I was before Marcus, tried to reshape me into something convenient and manageable. His gray eyes search mine, and I realize that what I'm feeling isn't grief or relief or vindication. It's anticipation. Free, I whisper. I feel free. He smiles then, the first truly unguarded expression I've seen from him since that moment in the bathroom. Good, because there's something I need to ask you. James, have dinner with me tonight. Not as your attorney, not as a professional obligation, as Elena and James, as to people who've been dancing around something real for months. My heart hammers against my ribs. Round us, the courtroom empties, but we remain in our bubble of possibility. That sounds wonderful. I breathe. Elena. The sound of my name draws my attention. Marcus stands at the edge of our row, looking older than his 42 years. James immediately shifts into protective mode, rising to place himself between us. It's okay, I tell James softly, standing as well. What do you want, Marcus? My ex-husband looks at James, then back at me. When he speaks, his voice is hoarse. I'm sorry. For all of it, you deserved better than what I gave you. The apology I dreamed of for years lands hollow in my chest. Too little, too late. Delivered to a woman who no longer needs his validation. Yes, I agree simply. I did. He nods, accepts the lack of forgiveness in my tone. As he walks away, shoulders bent with the weight of his ruined life, I feel James step closer behind me. Any regrets? He asks quietly. I lean back against his solid warmth, letting his presence anchor me to this new reality where I'm Elena Crawford, no, Elena Martinez again, where I'm free to choose my own path, make my own decisions, love whom I want to love. None, I whisper, not a single one.